And I'm just throwing this out there. When we do this, every single department, every person comes on their own behalf without having any idea what the big picture is looking like. You know what I mean? And I'm not certain that that is really the right way, because they're all fighting for that same dollar, and if we all work together and said, okay, what's our priority this year? Where do we want to put our eggs this year? What's the most important thing that we want to see done? And they put that money towards that, and then the next time there's another prize. Does that make any sense? Because we're all clamoring for the same buck.
Well, really, the general fund is what they're after, because each utility
stands on its
own, so
right.
Everybody's fighting for the general fund.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why I started with a couple of pages to give you some short and skinny on the general fund, because that's the area we're really talking
Exactly.
about.
I mean, and that's what I'm talking about, is that if there's X amount of dollars, what's the main priority for those dollars this time?
Well, and I think part of that you referred to earlier, Barb, is when you talked about that we need to plan, and we need to do some planning not just for next year, but for 5 years. You know, that maybe you prioritize your goals such that, you know, if you have some larger projects, that you actually plan them out over several years, so that you're not only doing one project a year, but you're making progress on a major project even.
I think it might be a good idea to have a strategic planning meeting, hire somebody to come in, or somebody and sit down with the council so we can get some stuff prioritized and have groups come in and, you know.
Because it's hard when there's only so much money to be able to prioritize and figure out a way to even do large
That's
projects.
my point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because everybody comes in and sits in front of us, and not knowing what anybody else is wanting or desiring or really needs, we're all begging for that same dollar, and so consequently it's like an internal struggle. Instead of saying, okay, we understand that this is important this year, let's work towards that, but let's put this over here because next year that's going to be. So we can't spend all the money. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
I think that's where Bob's right with the strategic planning. That
set down your priorities for the next 5 years.
Because then you know what your goals are, and you know what you're working for.
You want to go, what do you want to do this year? What do you want to do in 2 years? What do you want to do in 3 years?
Or can we get this all done in the next 5 years? Or
And if something pressing comes up, you can move something forward or back, or